Hello and welcome back to another economics lesson. Today we'll be discussing price elasticity of supply, or as we call it, PES. So, what is PES all about? Well, let's first define the term. So, PES is actually a measure of responsiveness of quantity supplied to a change in price. And what this basically means is how fast can suppliers either increase or decrease supply based on price changes. Yes. Okay? And there's a formula for this, and it is a percentage change formula. So remember your percentage change equation here. New value minus old value over old value. We'll go over that in a practice question later, so don't worry. So the formula is percentage change. So this is actually a Greek letter delta, which means change. So a percentage change in quantity supplied over a percentage change in price. And there are a few different values of PES that you would like to know and you might need in your examinations. And so first, for any product or good or service that has a PES of larger than 1, we call it price elastic, okay? What this means is that the supply is very responsive to changes in price, and suppliers can increase and decrease supply very quickly. The opposite of that is price inelastic, and that has a value of less than 1, which means that they can't increase or decrease supply very quickly based on changes in price. Then we have 0, PES equals 0, which is perfectly inelastic. What this basically means is at one quantity, they will supply for all prices. So what that means is that they won't change their quantity at all. There's no responsiveness to changes in price. It's just that one quantity for all prices. Then, lastly, we have unitary elasticity, which means that an equal change in percentage is on both sides. So, let's say you have a 5% change in quantity supplied. That means you have a 5% change in price. And, there's one more. So that's PES equals infinity, which means that it is perfectly elastic. And what this means is that at one price, you have unlimited supply, infinite. But any other price other than at one price. So imagine this is a diagram, right? At this price, you have infinite supply, but at any price above or below, you have no supply. So that's what PES equals infinity means. So now let's go into some factors that can affect PES. Well, firstly, you have factors of production, okay? Firstly, factors of production. So if you don't remember this is land, labor, enterprise, and capital. So if you have easy access to these factors of production, that means you're more elastic when you produce things, which makes you faster and more responsive to changes in price. Let's take an example. So for example, you might have one guy that's a diamond producer, and one guy is a producer of cell phones. Well, as you know, diamonds are much, much harder to get than cell phones. You have to mine hundreds of kilometers underground for them, and even though they're very, very rare. So that means they have very hard access to these factors of production, namely land in this case for diamond production. And what it means is that diamonds are very price inelastic compared to the cell phone guy, who has, probably tons of parts lying around that he can use, and also very easy access to labor, cheap labor, lots of capital, factories, and also a very, very smart management team, right? So that's factors of production. The second factor that can affect PES is the availability of stocks. So let's say, for example, you have that cell phone guy again, but then you have another guy who's producing apples. And as you know, apples, they go bad very quickly. So you can't hold them for very long. I would say maybe around 1 month would be the max. But for the cell phone guy, he can hold the stock for like 2 years, 3 years. Cell phone parts don't go bad, right? So that is how availability of stocks can affect PES. If you have lots of inventory, so that's a fancy name for stock holding, then your PES will be more elastic because you can just, fall back on them anytime you want to increase supply. The third factor that can affect PES would be spare capacity. So that's similar to the first one. So let's say you're operating at 50% capacity. You have another 50% that you haven't utilized at all. It's just sitting there waiting for you, right? So if you want to increase supply quickly, you can just use that other 50% without having to build like another factory, which will take longer time, right? So that is why having lots of spare capacity would make you more elastic, more price elastic when it comes to PES. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is the time period. So what this means is that actually PES is always, you can always consider it elastic in the long run. Because why? Why can we consider it elastic in the long run? Well, that's because we have variable factors of production. So you might have a new technology comes along that makes the process very efficient. You might build a new factory that'll increase your spare capacity, or you might be able to increase your labor, and therefore you have more people working in your production process, which makes it faster. But in the short run, you have fixed factors of production. That means that is why the short one, to determine how elastic your PES is, you have to rely on these factors to determine it, okay? So this actually kind of leads into our next little subsection, which is primary vs manufactured goods. So what is a primary good? So a primary good is something like an apple, right? Apple, organic stuff, right? Organic foods, whatever. And then manufactured goods are like cars, cell phones, right? So there's this tendency for primary goods to be inelastic and for manufactured goods to be very elastic when it comes to PES. So have a little think. Why is that the case? So I'll assume you had a little think right there. And so let's talk about why primary goods are inelastic when it comes to PES. So the primary reason is because of time period and also factors of production, right? Let's take the apple. To grow an apple, you would probably need around 3 or 4 months. Let's say one day the apple price suddenly goes up by 30%, and you want to grow more apples. But where those apples are going to come from? You have to plant the seed. You have to wait another 3 or 4 months before your apples finally grow, and by then the price might not be that high anymore. So that is why, due to the long time period in growing organic or primary goods, so like goods that are mainly agricultural based, that is why they have a relatively inelastic PES. They can't be that responsive because they need time to grow and to, make those products. Whereas on the other hand, manufactured goods, they have loads of access to factors of production. They have factories, they have cheap labor, they have capital, and also they usually have lots of inventory, so they have spare capacity and also availability of stocks. And also, they can increase their production very easily because they have ready availability of parts, and also they possibly have spare capacity in their factories. So that is why building something like a car or a cell phone, you can actually ramp up the production very easily based on changes in price. And that is why manufactured goods have a relatively elastic PES, yes? So this would be less than 1. PES is less than 1. And here PES would be usually larger than 1. Okay, so now using all of our knowledge that we learned this let's try and figure out a question, okay? So have a little think. Try to think back to what concepts you learned, the formulas, and yeah, have a go at this question. So I'll assume that you had a go at this question, and now let's decode it. Okay, so what does this question ask us? The table shows the effect of a change in the market price from $5 to $6 on the supply of mobile phones. Okay, this is keyword, mobile phones. So what do you learn? Mobile phones are manufactured good, right? Manufactured. And what do manufactured goods have in common when it comes to PES? They have an elastic PES, right? They can adjust their supply very easily. And that is why we expect this to have an elastic PES. So based on the question alone, without any calculations, we already have a sense of where this is going. So, remember the PES formula? It is PES is equal to percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. And the formula is new quantity minus old quantity over old quantity. So let's see the changes here. So the new quantity is for supply. Let's do it for supply first. The new quantity is 15,000 minus the old one, which is 10,000, right? And then we divide this by 10,000, which is the old quantity. And as for price, the new price is $6, the old price is $5, and divide that by $5, which is the old price. So then if you plug this into your calculator, you should get 0.5 over 0.2, which gives you a PES value of 2.5. And let's see the answers. So that would mean B is our correct answer. And we would expect this, right? Because cell phones are a manufactured product, and as we've learned, they are pretty elastic when it comes to PES. So this is an expected value, and we will be happy with this answer. So let's recap what we've learned today. So firstly, we defined PES. We learned the formula and the percentage change formula. We then learned about different values of PES. Then we went into some factors that affect PES in the short run, which are factors of production, so ease of access. We have the availability of stocks, spare capacity in your factors of production, and also time period. And then we looked at why primary goods have a much more inelastic PES than manufactured goods. Lastly, we tried a question, and we put all of our knowledge to use. And, the question really shows us why manufactured goods have a relatively elastic PES with 2.5 as the answer. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.